would you use?
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. I like that word.
I thought you might.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Top 10, and today we'll be looking at the Top 10 Sixth Doctor stories, but with a twist. You see, while the Sixth Doctor did have many adventures in the expanded media and Big Finish, which I do plan to review at some point, in terms of the television show, he only had 11 stories of his own. As this means a normal Top 10 would end up leaving out one story, I have decided instead to do a kind of Top 11 ranking, although I wouldn't expect to see general rankings from me in future. Number 11, Time Lash. Time Lash is one of those Doctor Who stories that, well, it has those certain sort of elements that, you know, they kind of... I'm sorry, I can't do this, I hate Time Lash. I mean, if I just kept this as a top 10, this definitely would have been the one that was left out. But when it comes to Doctor Who, I don't like to use the word hate. So, in the interest of finding something good, I will touch on something that is actually going to crop up in a future top 10. The idea of a previous Doctor and his companions having been present during previous events that took place prior to what we are seeing now. It's a fantastic idea, and certainly my favourite part of the story. That's pretty much it. Number 10. Terror of the Vervoids.
Carrot juice!
There's something about this story which is conflicting for me. It's not a bad story per se, and in many ways it makes for a great whodunit mystery. Set on a space liner in the Doctor's personal future, a series of grisly murders lead the Doctor and Mel to try and discover the culprit. And yet, there is something almost comical about how 80s this story feels, especially the scenes of Mel in the gym and the 80s synth music she is exercising to. But then this story is supposedly set in 2986, so maybe it was 80s comeback time. Number 9, Mind Warp. Despite taking the number 9 spot, this is definitely a story with memorable moments. We see the return of Syl, the apparent death of Perry, and perhaps most memorably, Brian Blessed as King Yrcanos. And of course, this is also where we begin to suspect there may be more to the Doctor's trial than previously thought, which leads me neatly on to number 8, The Mysterious Planet.
I was beginning to fear you had lost yourself. Sit down.
In 1986, Doctor Who as a programme was on trial, but also, as previously mentioned, it was also the Doctor who was on trial. Drawn against his will and faced with the dark and mysterious Valeyard, he finds himself on trial for his very life. However, all is not what it seems, and in revisiting a recent adventure for his defence, the Doctor discovers that perhaps forces from his own people's side are conspiring against him. Number 7, Vengeance on Varos. What could be said to be the preceding story to Mind Warp, this is a very strange story indeed. It could be said to be an eerie foreshadowing of the modern day's obsession with reality television and exactly what people would watch.
And he soon will be. Here comes the acid bath.
Of course, it could also be said to not be a particularly memorable story, but yet one I find surprisingly drawing. Number 6, The Twin Dilemma.
Whatever else happens, I am the Doctor.
A story that is not often favoured very highly among fans. Even I have to admit, it doesn't have the panache of other stories. But what makes this story great for me is the surprising, almost shocking way we see how much the Doctor's character can really change following a regeneration. And this would be the first, but certainly not the last time, that the Sixth Doctor's stories would find themselves in violent waters. Number 5, The Mark of the Rani. Why have one renegade Time Lord when you can have 3? As usual, we've got the Doctor and the Master, but we also get the first appearance of the Rani. Scientist, renegade, and debatably frenemy of the Doctor and the Master, this story certainly presents an interesting dynamic between the 3. Of course, the Doctor is the good guy, but you still get the feeling that the Master and the Rani are hardly allies as much as they appear to be. Number 4, The Two Doctors.
I've come a long way for you.
Naturally. Don't expect any thanks.
This story has it all. 2 Doctors, of course. The Sontarans returning after almost 7 years away. A change of both scene and country for the main thrust of the plot. And at times, quite a grim and dark story showing us another side to the Doctor. For me, this is definitely one of the higher ranking multi-Doctor stories, and certainly one of the Sixth Doctor's best. Number 3, Attack of the Cybermen.
Well, that should have happened.
Weirdly, the template I used to write this list was in fact my top 10 10th Doctor stories, and in number 3 place was The Waters of Mars, with my opening line being a grimly dark dark story with an even more grimly darker Doctor. Which is very apt, seeing as that is also how I would describe this story. This story is often singled out for its violent content. We see Cybermen being decapitated, the Doctor gunning down Cybermen, and most infamously Lytton having his hands crushed in gory, for the TV of the time, fashion. Whilst the Sixth Doctor was no stranger to being more ruthless and violent, this is certainly a story that almost seems to revel in that idea. Number 2. Revelation of the Daleks.
You cannot kill me! I am Davros!
For me, any appearance by Davros is always a welcome sight, and Revelation of the Daleks is no exception to this. But also because this story actually has some good historical moments for the character. Not only is this the first time we see his Imperial Daleks, but also for those new series fans not in the know as to the reason why Davros has a metal hand in the new series, that's actually because this is the story in which he lost it. Davros, he might be an evil genius who created the Daleks, but when you get a nickname like the Great Healer, it really shows you've made something of yourself. Let's give him a high. Never mind. So with all 11 Sixth Doctor stories appearing in this list, you might find that I wasn't able to squeeze in an honourable mention. Well, I found one.
Doctor?
You're expecting someone else?
Number 1. The Ultimate Foe. Having previously taken a relatively low number 9 spot in my top 10 classic stories, this is certainly one that deserves the number 1 spot in the top 6th Doctor stories. Not only was it the conclusion to the Trial of a Time Lord season, but we got eerie settings, the Doctor's first meeting with Mel, from his perspective, the Master, of course, getting involved, and who could forget that bombshell moment the Valeyard's true identity is revealed.
There is some evil in all of us, Doctor, even you. The Valeyard is an amalgamation of the darker sides of your nature, somewhere between your 12th and final incarnation.
All in all, while this particular season may have been on the ropes behind the scenes in terms of what we got, it certainly helped regenerate Doctor Who, even if only for a few more years. But that brings to a close another top 10. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me a lot, and be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. I am making my very first figure animation, and you can get involved. There is special exclusive content and rewards for those who do. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.